Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how are you doing?
Well, Tyler, as always, I am chilling.
Good, good. Glad to hear that. We are talking about a show that has been a favorite of ours the past few years. It is on Max called Tokyo Vice. So this is one of the shows that came out, I think, toward the end of the pandemic, like 2021. Had a great, I think it was 2021, right? Or 22.
I actually want to say it was kind of in the early days of Max. That's when Max was kind of first announced.
Okay, yeah. So a few years ago, season one came out, but it was originally a HBO Max original, which in that time since it has now been rebranded as Max. So it is a Max original. It is a crime drama series about an American reporter who tries to make it in Japan and wants to report on crime, and he deals with the police. He deals with the Yakuza, everything in between, other expats. Yeah, and it's basically all that for two seasons. Hopefully, fingers crossed for a third. As of this recording, we don't know yet, but it's up in the air. You know, Mike, usually I ask what your thoughts are, but I think for this one is why is it so damn good?
Well, it's good for the most part. I'll say that. The season does not, or the show does not have its flaws, we'll say.
Okay.
Um, I think the biggest setbacks of this show might be the main character, or at least one of them anyway. So, Jake is probably one of the worst main characters you'll ever meet, just very annoying,
Hmm.
constantly fucking up. But the rest of the characters in the show, minus Samantha, are actually really well done. Um, what's it, Detective Kataguri?
Yeah, category. Ken Watanabe, who
Yeah,
plays the role.
fucking fantastic actor every fucking time. Not once has he been a letdown. And Kato, who basically from lowly level Yakuza, spoiler alert here, to the head of essentially his
The
organization.
Chakra Kai.
Yep. So I feel like those parts of the story, I mean, yes, the background of the newspaper trying to expose the main evil Yakuza, we'll call him,
Hmm.
because he was just a ruthless son of a bitch. But yeah, it's the plot actually gets you hooked in pretty quick because
Yeah.
it is based in historical fact to some degree. This is not a one to one of what actually happened, but it's based on true events.
Yeah, it's based on an actual story, though obviously, as everything you read or watch with based on a true story, it's exaggerated to the 10th degree.
Oh yeah,
But like the main bullet points, did they happen? Yeah. Did it happen like this? No, not really.
sure.
I guess let's talk about Jake, right? He's the main character, Ansel Elgort who plays him. Uh, I, I find this interesting because, like, on one hand, I think he does great with the role. He has a great performance.
Yeah,
You are also right in that the character's kind of a piece of shit.
yeah.
But what I find really weird about this is like he comes off in the show as a likable guy, but for him, it's like getting the story,
Is
ends
the most
justify the
important.
means.
Yes,
But
he's willing to basically step on anyone and everything to get the story.
he's willing to burn friendships. He's willing to put them in situations that they shouldn't be in. Um, we don't. It's not until the second season we get a glimpse into the family life, like his family. But like
Yeah,
as any chance he gets to dip out on them, he does it.
yeah, and like the whole first season, you kind of feel like there might be some family disconnect, like the dad might have been a piece of shit or something like that.
Hmm.
You never talk to the dad. He's always told you gotta call him, and he never does.
The only thing is you get a tape from the sister, and that's it. That's the communication the first season.
Yeah,
And like
you're
I
like,
think a
oh,
phone call with the mom.
he might have grown up in a not so great family, and then you meet them, and they're great people.
Yeah,
Nice and stuff. It's like, oh, you're just a piece of shit. Got it.
yeah, it's like they had a party for the father, and like everyone loves him. Like this is very much like a suburban America in the 90s. Like no one's being abused. The parents' main concern is him being halfway around the world, and the daughter being kind of suicidal at times. Reasonable concerns for any parent to have, but like they don't berate him, they don't beat him up. He just doesn't want to be there, and he's kind of a piece of shit. Like I kind of feel like if he had his way, he would be a complete piece of shit if they would leave him alone.
Yeah.
Like if he had a chance to like do a clean cut and just never have to come back, he would take that chance.
Yeah, I think so too.
Um,
Because how fast he dipped out on his sister too.
uh-huh. Well, especially since it's the sister he seems to care and love the most, but I mean, the detective needs him back, so it's like, I gotta go. I'm going to Dallas so I can fly back.
Like, hey, I know you're suicidal and this means a lot to you, but
Yeah.
hey, see you
Like
later.
like that phone call with the father was like, oh my God, it's like, yeah, you get everything you need at the hospital? Yeah, Dad, great. So when I'm picking you up, yeah, I'm in Dallas right now. Like, why are you in Dallas?
Yeah. And like even the dad didn't go off on him when he really should have.
Exactly, yeah. Hmm. But I I'm glad it didn't turn up the drama to 11 by being like, oh, twist at the finale. He gets a call. The daughter did commit suicide, you know?
Yeah,
That
that would
that's
have
what
been
pushed over the
that
edge. Like that was laying right there for them, and I'm glad the writers did not go that direction. It would take a lot it would take away from the story, especially the final like 3 episodes of like season 2 is like just kind of
it was
turns
the
into
best
a
in the whole
thriller
show.
with how much happens. It's like,
It was the best in both seasons.
yeah, yeah, I think so. Well, I think that's kind of like the conclusion, at least to this main story, is like everything falls into place.
They stuck the landing.
They stuck the landing. A lot of shows these days don't stick the landing. They stuck it
Sure.
pretty well.
So not only did they tell a compelling story that starts with an American journalist in Japan, where there's not a lot of Americans in Japan at the time,
Hmm.
uh, investigating high suicide rates into a whole Yakuza plot to basically taking down one of the most ruthless Yakuza bosses of the time.
Hmm.
Sort of all out war, ends up taking him down. Not necessarily in the way that you would think, but the way
No.
that it is deserved.
Well, I guess we should also mention you said it during this time, and that's right. I guess one thing we failed to mention is this is a contemporary modern day, but also like almost period. It's the late 90s, early 2000s, right? So you got mobile phones, but pagers are still here and there. This ain't the 2010s. You got no translator apps, and from what I've read, like props to Ansel and Rachel Keller who plays Samantha. They actually learned Japanese for this role, and that's one of the hardest languages to learn.
Yeah,
Like,
and
like to really get it right, you can't be like, well, I'm a reporter. I can go to, I can go to Tokyo right now, get Google Translate, and I can try and half-ass it. It's like, no, they learned Japanese to do the scenes because if you wanted to be an American reporter in Japan, that's what you needed to do. You needed to learn
yeah,
Japanese.
and they're granted I don't speak a fucking lick of Japanese, but it didn't sound god awful like it was forced.
No, no, I actually, for season 2, there is if you watch the some of the episodes for season 2 had like the interview stuff at the end. Ansel mentioned that the first season, him and Kataguri would do a scene, right? And they try to do it in Japanese, they do it in English. For the most part, they switch to English because Ken Watanabe didn't think his Japanese was good enough, right? For some scenes. Second season, when they're filming, he's like, well, how about we do this, this, this in Japanese? And Ken's like, okay, if we switch this, we can do it in Japanese. We don't have to do it in English. So he even improved in between seasons.
Which is good.
Yeah. No, I mean, it also shows a lot of dedication too. Like, you know, this is a streaming show, but it's high quality. They're putting in the effort. I think another thing we're not really talking about, we're talking about the Yakuza side, which is very detailed. We're seeing different clans, we're seeing hierarchies. Like we are not doing it justice, and like they go in depth in how the Yakuza work, how they operate. So if you have any interest in that, this is a show to watch.
Oh,
But also
absolutely.
the reporting side. I found really interesting, especially toward the end of season two when things fall into place. Um, there's a storyline throughout the season of a possible insider helping the Yakuza. Um,
Yep.
I'm going to stay quiet about how that ends up, but it's very much like it doesn't end up how you think it is. They do play tricks on you, but it leaves you thinking about newspapers. I mean, not in Japan, but like in general, how they operate. Like, is access more important than telling the truth? And
Well,
some people have to deal with that.
I feel like most people nowadays would be like, "Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense."
But again, we're talking early 2000s Japan with, again, stories that have huge political, um,
Ramifications? Yeah.
ramifications. Absolutely. Like we're talking about stuff that, today, if this came out, well, I guess if today wasn't crazy, this would knock out senators, presidential candidates. If stories of this level came out today, like that's like this ain't like, oh, I tipped an extra $100 and I shouldn't have. Like these are massive implications to what these stories are. And then not only that, like on the reporter side, you brought up the characters and how great they are. I really appreciate that the show had a level of detail for characters on both sides. You had the police side, you saw Katagiri's family, how he lives his life. You see the Yakuza with Sato and how he lives his life. You could easily keep the reporting stuff quiet. But like Emmy, right? Jake's boss, right? We see her entire life for 2 seasons, right? The brother that has mental issues, trying to have a love life while dealing with that. Another reporter, right? Hooking up.
Your brother just
What,
tries to kidnap a kid.
yeah, tries to kidnap a kid, small stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like if you look at the show as three main things of the Yakuza, the police, the reporting side, right? The journalist, the characters from all three each have detailed lives. They're not just like a one-note character that's there to
Yep.
give exposition. You see them. You see them have a life, right? They even focus on one of the reporters like has an interest in bacon. Does that really come into play? Not really, but they still take the time to show him he really loves bacon.
Yeah. Yeah. Tintin was great.
Yeah.
Again,
Well, I mean, there are some episodes he wasn't that great, but
listen,
he has a good heart.
I want to make this very clear. At no point ever will you and I tell this show justice.
No, no,
The
I
only,
think really people just have to watch it to believe it.
yeah, because the detail of storytelling, detail they took for characters, set design, everything about this show was rock solid. Is it the greatest show ever made? Probably not, but it's up there with one of the best shows made, hands down.
Absolutely. So I guess let's just roll right into it. Tokyo Vice on Max. Mike, should people actually watch it?
You know, what? Nah, they shouldn't.
All right.
No, absolutely fucking watch it. Because the only reason why we got a season two is because the amount of viewers it got from season one. They were planning on just dropping it, and they didn't.
Hmm.
By some grace of God, they were able to finish season two, and it came out awesome. Now, they did end it where it doesn't really need a season three, but I think it'd be a lot cooler if it did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, Mike's a yes. I'm a yes. If you're listening to us talk the past 15, 20 minutes about the show and for some reason thought it would be a no, I don't know what to tell you. Um, this is a great show. Mike, like you said, like they could have easily canceled it because I remember now it was 2022, but so it wasn't 2021, it was 2022. But the thing is season one came out right as the merger happened between Warner Brothers and Discovery. So they could have
Yeah,
easily be like, first thing, cancel the shows, save money, cut costs,
because they
right?
canceled a whole bunch of HBO Max originals.
Yeah, they canceled a bunch of originals. All throughout the last year, shows have been coming out for Max. Like Tychus the Pirate Show and a few others. They come out a few months later, they're canceled. Done. This could have easily been a casualty if that Batgirl Max movie didn't even get released. Throw it in the bin.
Yep.
But this got enough, and now I do think partially I think it's because of the cost. This is filmed in Japan. I'm thinking between tax breaks, it's probably a bit cheaper to film in Japan and then say America, right? There's a lot of filming in England going on because of that. So I think that played a factor. Like if this was a $200 million show, obviously it would get canceled. Clearly it's
Yeah.
not. But again, I don't know how much the show actually costs. They put a lot of like it looks fantastic. It does not
Yes, it
look like
does.
a cheap show. Like you could say this is a HBO show, I believe you. And technically it's not, but they said it was HBO proper, it fits right in.
It really does.
So yeah, definitely watch. And also, we were treat. I did not know this until the season two launched. They added in two extra episodes. Season one was
Well,
only 8.
yep.
Season two was 10. Not only did the show did good do good enough for a second season, they got more episodes in. And yeah, for in regards to season three, yeah, please go ahead and watch it. It tells a complete story. There's a couple small things here and there that they can expand on for season three if it gets renewed, hopefully.
Yeah,
Um,
we're spin-offs.
yeah, but look, this is not going to be a show where it gets canceled and there's no point watching it because it's a cliffhanger. It's like the first few episodes of season one, you're going to see what the big story is. That big story gets fixed. It gets resolved. You will have a
Yep.
proper ending. But yeah, definitely, absolutely. I think next to Last of Us, this is really one of the best shows Max has had in years, or I guess like Warner Brothers in general for years, because between HBO Max, it's all wishy-washy, but you know what I mean. It's a fantastic show.
Absolutely. But I think that's enough about us gushing about how good this show is. I think we want to know what your thoughts on Tokyo Vice is. Did you watch it? What were some of your favorite parts? And if you haven't watched it, you should probably do that. As always, feel free to let us know your thoughts. Check us out. We're Entertainment Expansion. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. As always, thank you for listening.